The series opens and we see Japanese Lieutenant Kato ordered his man to drag 2 of the prisoner women to separate cells, whom was kidnapped earlier and now used as a test subject in their sinister experiment to develop biological weapons that can be used in war against the USA. There they were forced to eat food, unaware that Lieutenant Kato had laced the water with mutant larvae as part of a sinister experiment. As larvae take effect, one of the women becomes a creature that attacks back and kills many of the Japanese soldiers instantly. Soldiers quickly spray nitrogen gas onto the creature, calming it until it falls asleep. The soldiers prepare a cage to contain the monster, realizing that it has been emitting anthrax as a defense mechanism. As the creature sleeps, soldiers move it to the cell block. However, as it makes contact with the prisoners, anthrax spores spread, burning everyone who touches them. Myeongja, sensing the danger, stays away, but the others are not as fortunate. Those exposed to the spores develop severe burns and suffer immensely, unable to survive the ordeal. This was the quickest method used by the Japanese army to quickly deal with Korean prisoners. It all began in the year 1945. In Seoul, near the end of World War II, Korea was under Japanese rule. The Japanese government was doing everything possible to hide the news of the bombings in Tokyo, fearing it would expose their weakening power and inspire the people of GyeongSeong to rebel. Captured insurgents were given 2 grim choices: fight for the Japanese army or face death in a torture chamber. There was a man named Jang Tang, a wealthy and influential pawn shop owner. Although not Japanese, Tang has built a thriving business and valuable connections, giving him the ability to find information and people with ease. One night, Tang is arrested by Japanese Army Commissioner Ishikawa, who accuses him of having an affair with his wife, Yuko Maeda, the daughter of General Maeda. Tang mocks Ishikawa, warning him that if Yuko finds out about his suspicions, it could cause trouble for insulting her honor. Reluctantly, Ishikawa releases Tang but threatens him with a photograph of Myeongja, Tang's missing pregnant lover. Ishikawa demands that Tang find her, or else face conscription into the army and the loss of all his wealth, including his pawn shop. Tang is the information king of GyeongSeong, and now with everything at stake, he decides to find Myeongja with no other option. Tang gathers his employees to discuss the commissioner's threat. GyeongSeong, one of his workers, mentions rumors that Myeongja, along with several other women, has disappeared. Tang orders his men to contact everyone they know and gather information. He also asks Mrs. Null to secretly sell their most valuable items, so that, if the mission fails, they'll have enough money to escape quickly. Meanwhile, Myeongja is shown imprisoned in a cell alongside several other women. The Japanese army has kidnapped them to use as test subjects in their experiments to develop biological weapons for the war. 2 of the women are taken to separate cells, where they unexpectedly find food and water waiting for them. Hungry and thirsty, they eat and drink without hesitation, unaware that Lieutenant Kato has laced the water with mutant larvae as part of a sinister experiment. That night, Tang follows a lead, suspecting that a friend might have fled with Myeongja. To avoid Ishikawa's spies, who are tailing him, he takes a dark, narrow alley and tries to enter his friend's place from the back. As he moves cautiously, he senses someone following him. Tang manages to confront the pursuer, but the stranger proves to be a highly skilled fighter. After a tough struggle, Tang lands a blow that knocks off the person's hat, revealing a strikingly beautiful woman. Captivated, Tang hesitates, lowering his weapon. The woman takes this chance to introduce herself, explaining that she's searching for a Japanese artist named Saimoto. She sought Tang, knowing he was a local information broker, to assess if he could be trusted. Tang, however, brushes off the task, saying he doesn't work for free and especially not for minor inquiries. The woman then confides that she is actually searching for her mother, who disappeared 10 years ago, and believes that Saimoto might know her whereabouts. Tang misunderstands her story and assumes that her mother ran off with Saimoto and has been living with him all this time. He advises her to let them be if they've been together for a decade. Enraged by his insensitivity, the woman slaps him and storms off. Tang, still intrigued, tries to compliment her, telling her that her eyes are beautiful. But this only aggravates her further. Believing he's mocking her, she curses at him, warning him to stay away unless he wants her to gouge his eyes out. Tang later meets with his friend Kwon Jun, who confesses that he once had an affair with Myeongja. However, when she became Commissioner Ishikawa's mistress, they grew distant, Before parting, the two argue. Jun, who is part of the resistance, tries to convince Tang to join their cause and share his wealth to support the fight against the Japanese. Tang refuses, saying he has no cause to fight for. His only goal is survival. The fortune he built on his own belongs to him, and it's what keeps him safe. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Kato closely monitors the horrifying effects of the larvae the women ingested. The first woman suffers unbearable headaches, so severe that she resorts to drastic actions to end her pain. The second woman starts vomiting, and we see the larvae spreading through her body, triggering grotesque changes. Tang receives news from Mrs. Nawal, who tells him about two people claiming to be detectives, experts in tracking down missing persons. To Tang's surprise, the detectives are Yoon Jung-won and his daughter, Yoon Chaok, the same woman who attacked him earlier. When Chaok realizes Tang is the client, she tries to persuade her father not to take the case, calling Tang a despicable man. Tang, however, proposes a deal. He will track down the artist Saimoto for them if they help him find Myeongja. Reluctantly, they agree to the arrangement. Meanwhile, we see that Saimoto is with the Japanese military, who escort him to the cell of the second woman. Her body has transformed into a monstrous state, and the soldiers order Saimoto to draw the creature she has become. A flashback reveals that a year earlier, Saimoto applied for a job at a hospital, only to be forced into documenting the horrific results of inhuman experiments conducted on prisoners. His task was to sketch these atrocities in excruciating detail. Having witnessed too much, Saimoto knew there was no turning back. In a moment of despair, he wept in a quiet room where a janitor, who was also a prisoner, tried to comfort him. He noticed a green wooden figurine on a necklace around her neck. Back in the present, as the mutated creature lunges toward him, Saimoto spots the same necklace around its neck. Horrified, he realizes that the monster was once the janitor. When he examines the sketch of the same woman, it becomes clear that the creature is Yoon Chaok's mother, the woman she has been desperately searching for. His signature on the sketch explains why the detectives are after him. They believe he holds the key to her mother's disappearance. Later, the detectives uncovered that Yukiko Maida, Ishikawa's wife, orchestrated Myeongja's abduction and had her sent to GyeongSeong Hospital. This hospital is heavily restricted, allowing entry only to Japanese officials or those with government connections. To get inside, Tang persuades Yoon Jung to lend him his identification, since Jun's family status grants access to such places. The plan works, and they successfully infiltrate the hospital. While Tang and one of his employees distract the hospital staff, Chaok sneaks into the records room to search for clues. Just as she is making progress, the janitor from Saimoto's flashback interrupts her. Before she can act, Yoon Jung-won appears and pulls a gun on the man, only to discover that the janitor is secretly part of the resistance. As they prepare to leave, they hear a gunshot. A nurse dismisses it, saying it must have come from a nearby military base. But the detectives realized the noise came from below the hospital. They venture downstairs and discover the secret Japanese laboratory. There, they witness soldiers engaged in a struggle with the same monstrous creature. Now able to stretch its body parts over long distances, it has attacked several soldiers, causing the gunfire. The detectives urge Tang and his employee to leave and continue searching for Saimoto while they head deeper into the basement to rescue Myeongja. As Chaok is about to leave, Tang impulsively grabs her arm. Startled, she demands to know what he's doing, but Tang himself seems confused by his actions, unable to explain his sudden urge to stop her. Suddenly, sirens blare throughout the hospital, triggering an evacuation. As the hospital staff ushers out all visitors, the detectives, already in the basement, continue their mission. Downstairs, soldiers spray nitrogen gas onto the creature, calming it until it falls asleep. The soldiers prepare a cage to contain the monster, realizing that it has been emitting anthrax as a defense mechanism. While the creature sleeps, the soldiers move it to the cell block. However, as it makes contact with the prisoners, anthrax spores spread, burning everyone who touches them. Myeongja, sensing the danger, stays away, but the others are not as fortunate. Those exposed to the spores develop severe burns and suffer immensely, unable to survive the ordeal. Meanwhile, back at home, Tang is restless. Mrs. Nawal notices his unease and asks what's bothering him. Tang confesses that, although he's at risk of losing both his fortune and his life, All he can think about is Chaeok, and he doesn't understand why. Mrs. Nawal gently teases him, saying he ignored all the women who pursued him and ended up falling for the only one he couldn't win. It's a shame, she adds, because love is a disease that has no cure. The next morning, news spreads that the hospital has been sealed off due to contamination. Barriers are erected, and no one is allowed in or out. Later, Tang is visited by a nurse from the hospital, who is secretly part of the resistance. She delivers a message from Chaeok. They found Myeongja. The nurse describes seeing many dead people inside the hospital, but admits she doesn't know exactly what happened. Tang decides to go inside to find Chok. Will Tang uncover the truth and save Myeongja? Or will the monster lurking beneath the hospital destroy them all? To find out what happens ahead, subscribe to our YouTube channel for upcoming story.